Good morning. My name is Brandon and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. Yesterday I talked about co-addiction, and co-addiction as defined by Gorski and Miller in their book Staying Sober is referring to anyone whose life has become unmanageable as a result of living in a committed relationship with an addicted person. Yesterday I talked about some of the different characteristics of co-addiction as a syndrome that people who live with or are very close to addicts go through. And today I want to talk through the stages of co-addiction as defined by Gorski and Miller in their book. So first there's the early stage, and reading from the book, they say, the normal reaction within any family to pain, crisis, and the dysfunction of one member of the family is to reduce the pain, ease the crisis, and assist the dysfunctional family member in order to protect the family. Now that's what you should do with your family in most crises, but in addiction, that's what we would call enabling the addict. And indeed, they go on to say, these responses do not make things better when the problem is addiction, because these measures deprive the addicted person of the painful learning experiences that bring an awareness that the addiction is creating problems. At this stage, co-addiction is simply a reaction to the symptoms of addictive disease. It is a normal response to an abnormal situation. So in the early stage, you've got the addict who is starting to display different problematic behaviors and reactions to the world around them. And you've got the person, the co-addict, the person close to them, who is trying to ease the pain that they see. It's a natural, loving reaction. It's what we all hope to have in our relationships with people, is other people who care about us when they see us in pain. But the problem is that the help that they're trying to give doesn't actually achieve its goal. It actually starts to make things worse. And that's when we go into the middle stage. And the middle stage says when the culturally prescribed responses to stress and crisis do not bring relief from the pain created by the addiction in the family members try harder. So, didn't work, let's do it, but do more of it. They do the same things, only more often, more intensely, and more desperately. They try to be more supportive, more helpful, and more protective. They take on the responsibilities of the addicted person, not realizing that this causes the addict to become more responsible. So we're in a situation where the co-addict's behavior and attempts to help the addict are actually enabling the addict and making their own addictive behavior that much more intense and that much, and we get in this cycle of reinforcement where the addict behaves in a way where they need help. The co-addict helps the addict, which enables the addict to continue behaving in a way that enables the co-addict to continue to need to help. And it just continues circling and cycling through. And at this point, according to the book, things get worse instead of better. And the sense of failure intensifies the response. Family members experience frustration, anxiety, guilt. There is growing self-blame, lowering of self-concept, and self-defeating behaviors. They become isolated. They focus on addictive behavior in their attempt to control it. They have little time to focus on anything else, and as a result, they lose touch with the normal world outside of their family. So at this point, we've got addict and co-addict in a cycle of self-defeating behavior. It's a perpetual cycle. This is where the behavior starts, and it's not going to stop unless something comes in and arrests that behavior. And so that's when we enter into the chronic stage. The continued habitual response to addiction in the family results in specific repetitive circular patterns of self-defeating behavior. These behavior patterns are independent and self-reinforcing and will persist even in the absence of the symptoms of addictive disease. So watch what happens. The co-addict is enabling the behavior of the addict. The addict is in turn enabling the behavior of the co-addict, and that just keeps spinning. When the addict stops their addictive behavior and starts to act different, you would expect that the co-addict does the same, but that's not what happens. The co-addict keeps going because that's what they're used to, and that's the response that they have been programmed by the situation to have. So just like with people in recovery, you don't get better like that. It's not like you stop drinking and 24 hours later you're a completely different person. No, it takes work, it takes persistence, it takes consistency to get better and to start seeing some of the behavioral and personality changes that we hope for when we're in sobriety. For the co-addict, it's the exact same thing. It's not a light switch. Their own behavior is going to continue because they have expectations of what the addict is going to do. And it's going to take a long period of time before those expectations start to shift and become based on the addict's current behavior as a person in recovery rather than their previous behavior as a person in active addiction. So let's read some more about this. The thinking, and at this point, so when we're in the chronic stage, when this is, we're in the circular patterns where the addict and co-addict are feeding off of each other, the thinking and behavior of the co-addict is out of control, and these thinking and behavior patterns will continue independent of the addiction. So now the co-addict is in the exact same unmanageable place as the addict. Their behavior, their thinking, their emotions, they are unmanageable in the same way that the addict's thinking, behavior, and emotions are unmanageable. So co-addiction elevates chronic stress to the point of producing stress-related physical illnesses. The chronic stress may also result in nervous breakdown or other emotional illnesses. Social degeneration occurs as the addiction focus interferes with relationships and social activity. Spiritual degeneration results as the focus on the problem becomes so pervasive that there is no interest in anything beyond it, particularly concerns and needs related to a higher meaning in life. So, recovery from co-addiction. The authors say, recovery from co-addiction means learning to accept and detach from the symptoms of addiction. It means learning to manage and control the symptoms of co-addiction. It means learning to focus on personal needs and personal growth, learning to respect and like oneself. It means learning to choose appropriate behavior. It means learning to be in control of one's own life. Because it is a chronic condition, co-addiction, like addiction, is subject to relapse. But a condition of co-addiction, relapse may be more difficult to identify. Without an ongoing recovery program and proper care of oneself, old feelings and behavior thought to be under control may surface and become out of control. Life again becomes unmanageable. The co-addict is in relapse. So when we're talking about a program of recovery right there, we're not talking about a program of recovery for the addict. We're talking about the program of recovery for the co-addict. Now, a lot of people in co-addict relationships enter into their own recovery program using, for example, a program like Al-Anon. This is critical, and it's not something that everybody does, but there is a lot of evidence that it really helps both the addict and the co-addict adjust to life in sobriety when the co-addict has their own recovery program that they're working to help them deal with the symptoms of co-addiction and avoid us and change their own behaviors. And the attitude of some co-addicts is, I'm not the one with the addiction, I'm not the one with the problem, why should I have to be the one to do the work? And the fact of the matter is, yes, the addict is the source of a lot of the pain and a lot of the issues that came up because of that addiction. But if we're interested in healing as a unit, if we're interested in healing the family, for example, as a unit, then the co-addict has to play an active role in that. They can't be a passive participant in that and just allow the addict to do all of the recovery work and expect things to get better. Whether they asked for this or not is not really the question. The question is, what do you have to do to heal the family as a unit? And to do that, you have to treat the family as a unit. And that involves sometimes both, family therapy type of situations, but also individual recovery programs that are tailored to the needs of each role that was played in that relationship. And so that's what's important about what we read today, is that there are two roles in this. There's not just the addict's behavior, but there's the co-addict's behavior and what that behavior did to contribute to the overall situation in the family that now needs to be healed in order for the family to move on to life and recovery. So tomorrow we'll do some more focus on relapse prevention and the family and the healing process there. In the meantime, hope you all have